Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. I am Evelyn of Pink Sheep Design, aka the Pink Sheep, and today we are going to be doing a video tutorial for a headband. This is a winter/fall headband. Very simple project. You can do it with one skein of yarn. This is size 6 super bulky yarn. So you will need one skein of super bulky yarn. This is Lion brand Wool Ease Thick and Quick, but you can find any other size 6 super bulky yarn, and a size 12 millimeter hook. Actually, this is an 11 millimeter hook. You can use anything from an 11, 11.5, or 12 millimeter. It'll work all the same for this project. So I'm super excited to bring more tutorials like this to my channel. If you like this video, please be sure to hit the like button and subscribe so you don't miss a video. And I am going to turn the camera around and we're going to get started. All right, so for this headband, we're going to go ahead and create a slip knot. And we are going to start with a chain of 34. Be sure that when you create this chain that you don't make it super tight. The easiest way to do that is to just focus on your tension and make sure that you are not creating super tight chain stitches. Try to relax your tension a little bit while you create it. The other option is to go up a hook size when you create your chain. Right now I'm using a size 11 hook, but I could go up to an 11.5 or a 12 millimeter hook to create my chain. The reason you don't want your chain too tight is because we're working in the round, and when we join the chain, if it's a tight chain, one side of your headband is going to be tighter than the other, okay? So I'm going to chain 34. Once we have 34 chain stitches, I'm going to lay my chain out flat, and I'm going to make sure that there is not a twist in the chain, okay? Once I've ensured that there's no twist, I can fold my chain over, and I'm going to insert my hook into the very first chain that I created, that very first chain space, okay? I'm going to join my chain with a slip knot, so I'm going to yarn over, pull that yarn through both loops on my hook, okay? And then I'm going to chain 1. We now have our chain completed. This does not count as row 1. Row 1, we are going to work half double crochet stitches all the way around into each one of the chain spaces. So when you're working into your chain spaces, I like to work into this top single strand of yarn, okay? And there are 2 strands of yarn below it, right? So if you look at that chain, I'm going to be going through these top strands of yarn, leaving this crisscrossed looking bottom 2 strands on the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to start working my first half double crochet into this very first stitch right next to my hook. Okay, can you see that? There we go, right there. So I'm going to yarn over, insert my hook into that first stitch underneath 1 strand of yarn, pull up my 3rd loop, yarn over, and pull through, creating my first half double crochet of the row. I need 34 half double crochet stitches in this first row. So I'm going to work these all the way around. All right, I have finished row 1, and I wanted to talk about one of the biggest questions that I get when I'm teaching someone how to crochet in the round. Where is my final stitch? Okay, so it does look like there is an extra stitch space here that I might need to work into. So it might be questionable for you, like, do I work into this stitch or not? The easiest way to know whether or not you are on your last stitch is to do a stitch count. I know that I should have 34 stitches at the end of this row, so I'm going to count around I see this first stitch here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33. So I have 33 stitches. I know I need 34. So yes, I am going to work into half double crochet. I'm going to work into this chain space so that I have the total number of stitches I need, which is 34. So that's the easiest way to tell. If you're unsure, you should know, depending on the pattern you're following or the video, you're going to know how many stitches you need before you finish that row off or you join that row, okay? So in this case, we needed 34. We have 34, so I'm going to join this row with a slip stitch, and the slip stitch is going to go underneath these first 2 loops from the very first stitch that we created in the row, all right? And I'm going to join with a slip stitch, so I'm going to yarn over, and I'm going to pull that yarn through both strands on my hook, okay? So this is where the headband that I created gets interesting and has its unique look to it. We are actually going to be working, not only are we working in the round, we're going to be turning our work in between each row, okay? So for row 2, we are going to chain 1, but then we're going to turn our work, all right? So that means I'm actually going to flip my work around, and I'm going to work into each stitch around from this other side, okay? And instead of working half double crochet this time, we're going to do single crochet all the way around, all right? So I'm going to insert my hook into this very first stitch space right next to the hook and insert my hook in there. It's going to go underneath 2 strands of yarn, right? I'm going to yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over again, pull through both, all right? And that is creating my very first single crochet stitch of this round, and I'm going to be working single crochet stitches all the way around. Now, because we did a half double crochet on the last row, you're going to have a couple of loops that you can actually work through. You've got this first loop here, you have the second loop here, this creates a V, okay? And then if you turn it backwards, you have a third loop back here, okay? For these single crochet stitches, you're going to skip this first loop and you're going to go through the back 2 loops here, all right? So I'm going to skip this first loop right here, and I'm going to insert my hook under both strands, this second and third strand, yarn over, pull up, and pull through, all right? This is going to leave this front loop to create a ridge, all right? So I'm going to keep working these single crochets around, working through these back 2 loops, okay? And now you can really start to see this ridge that is being created by me not working into that very first loop of that stitch, all right? So I'm going to continue this all the way around, regular old single crochets. I should have 34 at the end of this row. Okay, now that I've finished my second row, before I join, I'm going to do a stitch count and make sure that I still have 34 stitches all the way around. So I'm going to start with this very first stitch here, and you can count the V's, so that's usually the easiest way. So I'm going to start with this very first V. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 27, 28, 29, 2, 3, 3, 34. All right, so I do have 34 stitches. So even though it looks like this could potentially be another stitch space that I might want to work into, I'm not going to work into that space. All right, I'm going to go ahead and join my row with a slip stitch into that very first single crochet stitch of the row. All right, so from here we're going to repeat this pattern. All right, we're going to chain 1, we're going to turn our work around, so I'm going to flip my entire piece of work over, and I'm going to go back to working half double crochet stitches. right? And I'm going to start working it into this very first stitch. And since you're working into single crochet stitches, there is only one V right here, these 2 strands of yarn that you're going to be working underneath. And I'm going to work these half double crochet stitches all the way around. You can see what that is starting to look like on that row, all right? Okay, we finished our 3rd row. So we're going to join, and this is where if you need to do another stitch count, you can count again, make sure you have 34 stitches. We're going to join into these first 2 loops into the first stitch of the row, join with a slip stitch, chain 1, turn your work. And usually when I turn my work, I actually flip my work inside out. Okay, so each time I flip my work makes it easier for me to work into. And we're going to work again our single crochet stitches into the back 2 loops of these half double crochet stitches, right? So again, you can see that we've got this first loop here, right here, followed by a second loop, followed by a third loop, all right? And we are going to work into these back 2 loops. So I'm going to insert my hook, back 2 loops, pull up my loop, yarn over, pull through. There's my first single crochet. I'm going to work a couple so you can really see. Oh, just tried to do a half double crochet. Mine goes on autopilot. Okay, so you can really start to see now how you're getting this really beautiful ridge, okay, and that creates that nice ridge pattern on this headband. So it just gives it a little something something. So it's not just a plain old headband. So I'm going to work these single crochet stitches all the way around. Right, from here, we are going to go ahead and join this row again. Again, you can count around, make sure you have 34 stitches before you join the row. Insert your hook into the first, these top 2 stitches of your first single crochet stitch of the row. Join with a slip stitch, chain 1, and then we're going to again turn our work, and then I like to flip it inside out, and we're going to be working across. We will now be working half double crochet stitches all the way around, okay, into each of these single crochet stitch spaces from the last row. All right, end of row 5. Get a little more yarn. We're going to join with a slip stitch into the first half double crochet of the row. Chain 1, turn our work, flipping it inside out if you'd like to. And then we are going to work row 6 single crochets again into the back 2 loops. So again, first loop, second loop, third loop, we're going underneath these back 2 loops with our single crochet stitches. And I start in that very first stitch space next to the hook. We're going to work these all the way around. Right, row 6 is complete. Going to join with a slip stitch into the first single crochet of the round. Chain 1, turn my work and flip it. And row 7, we will again be working half double crochets all the way around. And keep in mind that I work into this very first stitch, all right? Usually, because that's the stitch you joined into, it's actually kind of difficult to get your hook in there. So you may think, oh, well, that's not the right stitch that I need to use, but it is. It's right up there next to it, right? So I can stick my finger through there just a little bit. That is where you are working that first half double crochet right in there. And you're going to work the half double crochet stitches all the way around for a total again of 34. All right, here we go. We are going to join row 7 with a slip stitch, chain 1, and do our last row. I'm turning and flipping my work. We have one final row of single crochet stitches. If you want your headband to be a little thinner, skinnier, you can actually stop here. That's perfectly fine. You can stop here and move on to tying off and weaving in the ends, but I am going to go ahead and work a final row of single crochet stitches into back 2 loops of these half double crochet stitches from the row before. All right, so from here, this is the last row, and we are able to go ahead and join into that first single crochet stitch with a slip stitch. All right, and then we can take our scissors and we can cut a short tail, okay, right about here. And then you want to take your hook and yarn over with that tail, pull it through, and then pull that tight, right? From here, you can weave in your ends. I do that by flipping my headband inside out, taking my tapestry needle, threading the yarn through the tapestry needle, and then I just work that yarn. I weave it in underneath strands of yarn, usually just single strands of yarn. Sometimes these hooked needles are nice. You can really get underneath each strand. Okay, and I'm just moving that tail away from the edge of the headband. Once I've moved it down about an inch, I'm actually going to twist my yarn so that it untwists. So this kind of yarn specifically has 2 ply, has 2 strands wound around each other so you can separate it. And then I'm going to weave one of those strands through my tapestry needle, and I'm going to insert it underneath 1 or 2 more pieces of yarn from the headband, remove my tapestry needle, and then I'm going to wrap once, wrap twice, pull, not too tight because you don't want to cinch that space, just snug, and then do that again, wrap once, wrap twice, pull a little bit tighter on that one. You can actually really give that one a tug, and then you can snip the ends. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. Okay. Threading that needle, inserting the hook, starting to work that yarn through some of the strands of yarn from the headband, down away from the edge of the headband. Okay, once you're about an inch down, I'm going to untwist my yarn, creating 2 strands. Not all yarn will work this way. You can check out, I'm about to do another video that shows different ways you can weave in your ends, so that will be helpful, but there are other ways you can weave in your ends, especially if you don't have a 2-ply yarn like this. But now from here, I can do my wrap once, wrap twice, pull snug, wrap once, wrap twice, pull tight. Right? And then I can snip the ends, and then you can flip your headband inside out, and you are ready to go. I will flip the camera around so you guys can see it on. But get excited, you just made a headband, and you can make one of these with 1 skein of yarn. So if you purchased my Learn to Crochet kit in my Etsy shop, this was a great project for you to try. And if you like this video, be sure to hit the like button and subscribe. All right, we just finished our fall / winter super chunky simple headband, ribbed headband, so you can see this nice ribbing here that this created. So this fits straight over your head, just like this. All right, and like I said, this is a very thick headband, so you do have the option to remove a row or 2 from the headband if you want it to be smaller, but I really like it because it covers my ears very nicely, and that's why I like this pattern. If you want to change the size up for this pattern, since it's so simple and there's no increases or decreases, you start with a chain of 34 and then you have 34 stitches for every single row following that. It's easy to change up the size. So 2 stitches in this is about an inch. So if you want to remove an inch, you can start with a chain of 32 instead of 34. If you want to add an inch in the diameter, you can start with a chain of 36 instead of a chain of 34, and you can just have 36 stitches for every single row. So that makes it super easy. But I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, please hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any more great tutorial videos. And again, if you needed a little bit of extra help with this video, be sure to check out my Learn to Crochet playlist here on YouTube. And until next time, happy hooking!